I can't be the only one who's tired of these gender wars. Like, I'm sorry. It's boring. So, it's the month of love. I'm going to share a story about Riri, or Doreen, but I called her Riri. So, I met Riri 30 June 2007. It was a friend's birthday. My cousin and I take the friend out to go party. We end up at Capello's Gandhi Square, where, boom, there she is. The party was being thrown by Teeps, rest in peace. So, as the night is going on, the birthday boy brings Riri to the table and then leaves her there and goes and does his own thing. So my cousin and I just like, on then. So eventually, this girl who's just sitting there, like, we start talking and we hit it off. But everything's very PC because I was in a very committed relationship and I didn't really know anything that was going on with her. Anyway, cool. We talk, end of the night, go our separate ways, and we only ever see each other again about 6 weeks later when I went to go visit a friend in Auckland Park. And as I was getting out my car and walking into the complex, she was walking out. And we're like, hey, yo, Gandhi Square, hi, yeah. So we start talking again. And it turns out the friend she went to go visit was the next door neighbor to the friend I was going to go visit. It was crazy, right? So anyway, don't ask for a number because I'm in a relationship. She leaves, I go see my boy. End of the day, go back to the car, and she'd written her number on my windscreen. She was that type of person. So anyway, still have a number, but can't really do anything because I'm in this relationship, and I loved that person. I was very committed. Cool. Eventually, the person didn't have a breakup. I'd start talking to Doreen, but she was in a relationship. And this would happen on and off for the next 4 years. Until one day, I was coming out of SABC. I had just finished doing a voiceover, and I saw her car driving by, and I wave, and she sees me. So she parks, and we start talking. We hadn't seen each other in a while. Hey, we should hang out. She just moved to this house in Brixton. Shout out to Dom, Bev, Push, and Sims. Those were the people that she was living with. So she was like, yeah, come through, hang out. Cool. But she's in a relationship still. Until one day she comes to me and she's like, the relationship's done. I'm like, what? I was like, all right, cool. This gives me a chance to shoot my shot. But she shuts that down quickly. And she's like, listen, I like you. You're a nice guy, but you're in the friend zone. Nothing's going to happen. So I was like, all right, cool. Respect. We'll just hang out. And I honor that. I don't try to step out of the friend zone. And then one day, we're hanging out, and we're in her room, and then she asks me to give her a massage. So I oblige. And one thing led to another, and we had adult time. And then that lasted for a whole year. We kept saying it wasn't a relationship, but it was a relationship. I think we were both just kind of scared given what we had both come out of to kind of commit. But anyway, it was like this very adventurous, very intense relationship. We had a lot of respect for each other, and it was very passionate. And so that also meant sometimes we'd argue and bicker like two dogs, but then always come back to each other. And I remember there was one day, it was my birthday. She did, till today, the most romantic thing anyone's ever done for me. So, we went to Mabuning, and there were a bunch of mutual friends there and stuff. And I remember she got them to sing happy birthday for me, and gifted me some stuff, and we're hanging out and we're having a great time. And then at some point she's like, yo, we've got to go. So I'm thinking, oh, cool, adult time. So we leave. And we go back to my apartment, and we're hanging out. And after a while, she's like, listen, I just got to go do something. I'm coming back. And she was gone for what felt like forever. Then she comes back, and she's like, put on this blindfold. I got a surprise for you. So she puts the blindfold on, and We get out the apartment, get into the elevator, and she walks me out the building into her car. We drive around, and then eventually we get to the place. And, I remember walking up these stairs, and she's like, okay, take off the blindfold. And boom, there we are, back in my building. Now, we're standing in front of this restaurant that was at the bottom of my building. It just so happens that the restaurant was owned by her sister. So this kind of tells you that her and I, it was cosmic, like things were supposed to just happen. Anyway, we're at her sister's restaurant. It's a Saturday. She convinced her sister to shut the restaurant down. It was just the two of us. Candles lit everywhere. And she had gotten the chefs to prepare us a meal. And we had dinner for two at her sister's restaurant with all these candles. It was amazing. Anyway, we would eventually break up because she had graduated from medical school and couldn't get any of her practicals in Gauteng, and neither one of us was up to doing long distance. She was in Pietermaritzburg. I went to go visit her once, and we did have a really great time, but that's when we both were like, we can't do long distance. But we maintained a friendship, even like after that. And about 3 years after her and I ended, I would then get into what would be my longest relationship to date. And, I still lived in that building. And I, one day, was hanging out with my now ex, and Riri was there when she walked in. And I was like, oh, hey, let me introduce you to Riri. And, I was hoping that there would be some sort of friendship, or at least some sort of like mutual, something. And my then ex just wasn't having it. Understandably so. She just, wasn't feeling Doreen. She felt a bit threatened. And so our relationship became very distant. She respectfully kept her distance, as did I. After a good couple of years, now around 2020, COVID's just about to kick in, I used to throw events. And at this event, it was actually the last event we did before COVID. Doreen's there, and I'm with my ex, and she says, hey guys, can I speak to you? And she's like, look, I know you guys have had your friendship, and I've kind of gotten in the way of that, and that's been because of my own insecurities. And so I'd like, please, if you two can continue being friends, I'm really cool with that. So I take that with a pinch of salt, and I think Riri does as well. But we check in on each other every now and then, especially once COVID kicked in, because I thought at one point I had COVID, and this was like early in, and she was coaching me, guiding me on how to deal with that. And then a few months later, her father would pass on, and so I would check in on her. And I remember I'd had this dream about her, so I felt the need to, hit her up, but I kept forgetting. After about 2 weeks, eventually I do reach out to her, and I'm like, hey, dude, I had this dream about you. And she's like, oh, was it like a bad dream? And I'm like, I can't remember what it was, but I didn't wake up feeling bad. So, no. She's like, oh, okay, cool. And she's like, well, I had a dream about you. And you were like pushing a pram, and you were really happy. I was like, oh, wow. So, like, anyway, I was just checking up on you. I just wanted to, see how you're doing. I love you. And she was like, I love you more. And that's the last time I ever spoke to her, because a week later, she would pass on. I get a phone call from another good friend saying, I think Doreen's passed on. Can you check? So I call her sister, and her sister picks up the phone, sobbing in tears, which immediately confirmed that she died. This isn't meant to be a sad story. It's to celebrate love. It's to say that, there are good people out there. I'm telling you the story because I miss Riri. She's been on my mind lately. But also because in this whole thing of men versus women and people going on about how ain't shit men are, how ain't shit women are, there are the Riris of this world, male and female. And I would really hope that you could find yourself a Riri, even if things don't work out and you just stay friends. There are good people out there, good men and women out there. And I think it's time that we start celebrating that a lot more, because this gender war shit is getting old. Anyway.